Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us here on the Stellar Woman Show and also on the Stellar Woman Magazine. My name is Stella Olivia Kikoyo, and I am the editor-in-chief of the Stellar Woman Magazine. Stellar Woman Magazine is here to bring you thriving women's stories, knowledge, and experiences so that you too can learn one or two things, be inspired, and thrive in your life. We're here to move knowledge from one woman to another because we believe that knowledge is power, of course, if acted upon. We're here to change perspectives and bring about new possibilities in the world. Today, we are excited and thrilled to be able to host an amazing stellar woman, Deepti Mathew, who is the CEO of Street Business School. Street Business School is, we shall learn more about what it's all about, but mainly we know that it's about alleviating poverty with a focus on empowering women financially. And we shall know more about what Street Business School does, but about Deepti. Deepti has a lot of experience in management consultancy, and she has led a number of organizations, and her main focus is to build mindset, systems, and processes necessary to achieve, to scale and make impacts. She brings about 24 years of experience that she's brought into Street Business School. So she is going to tell us more about her expertise, her past experiences, which we want to tap into, and the knowledge as well, her growth, where she grew up. We want to learn more because this is not enough for us. I know that her main conviction is to help women because she believes that women are key to changing the world, which we too on the Stellar Woman Show and the magazine are really striving for. We believe that women are the key factor for change today. So welcome, Deepti, and thank you so much for sparing your time and coming here onto the show.
Thank you, Stella. It's a true pleasure to be here and speak to the amazing audience that you have.
Thank you. Now, we are going to kick it off by first finding out, of course, we have just made this brief introduction. We know it's not enough about you. We know that you have this amazing experience. We know that you are a woman and you have a lot that you are going to have to share with us and open up. So tell us more. Who is Deepti Mathew? Who are you? What is your backstory?
Deepti Mathew is a 50-year-old woman who today lives in Dakar, Senegal. Her backstory is I was born in a small town, very small town in India, in the very south of India. When I was 2 years old, my family moved to Tanzania. And I spent the first 3 years of my life in Tanzania. Obviously, there was no kindergarten back in those days. So I spent it at home and I spoke only Swahili and a little bit of my mother tongue. And I loved Tanzania. I still have memories, even though it's very early days, of my time in Tanzania. We then moved to Cameroon, where I unlearned my Swahili and learned French and English for the first time at the age of 5. And we were in Cameroon for a long time, by my standards, a long time. I was there till I was about 13. And then my father said, we're going back home. And for me, home was Cameroon, home was Tanzania, it was not India. But unfortunately, our family left Africa. We went back to India, where I finished my education, did what every typical middle-class person does in India. I did my MBA, got a good job, and continued to work in the private sector for a long time. But I kept feeling that I was living somebody else's dream. I got amazing jobs with Unilever, with some of the best-known management consulting firms. But I really felt that the gap between who I was at work and who I was authentically was getting wider and wider. The more I got promoted, that gap was getting bigger and bigger. So I took a career break in the middle of this, really successful career. And I went to the UK from India to do my master's in gender and development at the London School of Economics. And for the first time, I truly enjoyed education and I truly enjoyed the subject that I was learning. Because growing up as a young girl and a woman in India and in Africa, you are so conscious that society, government, religion, everything makes the choices for you before you are even given an opportunity. So it was a subject that was really close to my heart. And my interest had been to transition my career to working in development. But unfortunately, I was in the UK on this visa called the highly skilled migrant visa. So I had to stay and earn a very high salary. But in 2012, as soon as I got citizenship, I quit my job and I took a career break. I went sailing around the world. I had never been on a boat before. But I took part in the Clipper Around the World race, where 12 identical yachts sail around the race. It was not glamorous at all. It was really hard work. I did halfway around the world. So for 6 months from Australia back to London. And it taught me a lot, not just about sailing, but about life and teams. And then when I came back to London, I finally transitioned my career to working in development. And I supported organizations. I realized that my toolkit that came from management consulting really played into supporting organizations as they go from growth to scale. So I worked with organizations that were at that stage. And my first opportunity was to take a UK-based NGO that supported government schools in India, from working with 27,000 children to working with 8 million children. And then I finally realized my dream and I was able to move back to Africa. I worked with a high-tech startup in Ghana. I was based in Accra. And we provided highly accurate weather forecasts to farmers, smallholder farmers, over 1 million farmers in West Africa. And then from there, I moved after the pandemic to Dakar, where I worked with MyAgro, which supports smallholder farmers with access to high quality seeds and fertilizers, as COO and then managing director strategy. And then I got this amazing opportunity. I heard about this NGO called Street Business School, which I'd never heard of before. And they seemed to do some really amazing work. It was about women, and something I'm so passionate about, creating wealth and empowering women below the poverty line to move out of poverty. And they had this amazing model that was so powerful that they didn't have to do it directly. They could empower other NGOs, other local NGOs, to take the curriculum and apply it to their beneficiaries. So I was so excited to step into the founder's shoes at Street Business School. And now I've been here for eight months and it's been amazing.
Amazing, amazing. It's a great experience. Thank you so much for sharing that backstory. It has really brought us to a great perspective of some of those things that you are about, the growing up and how much I don't know how many couches you have within you are just multi, from speaking Swahili, going to French, English, going back to India, then Africa again, and being in different parts and working in different parts of Africa as well. So that is amazing. A great experience that you have to give, and we're going to tap into that. We are blessed to have you and here on the show, and we can understand how that has shaped you as a person. Now, tell us, we always want to begin with this question. What are your ideal stellar woman attributes? We always don't want to miss that. As a woman who has worked at this level, being in a leadership role, having all these aspects that you have, that you bring with yourself, what are your ideal stellar woman attributes?
I don't know if I have ideal stellar woman attributes. I think every woman is amazingly unique and has amazing superpowers of her own. And for so long, we've been pushed into the mold of what a good woman should be. And I think this is the time now for us to find our own voice, our own truths. And we don't have to meet other people's expectations. We have to listen to ourselves, and find our own power. And I think sisterhood, if there's any trait that I find amazingly beautiful and powerful, it's sisterhood. It's the power of women to support women. And if that happens, forget the world, we could rule the universe.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for that. So it's more of sisterhood. And I think the reason we ask this is for that aspiration that each individual woman has, where they are taking the attributes they are aiming for, they want to integrate within themselves. They want the woman they want to become. Anyway, that's what we want to tap into. Is each woman is creating their own, and that's an important one. Definitely, sisterhood is one way of changing the world if we can enhance that. Thank you very much. Now, you tell us you have a strong conviction that women are key to changing the world, and your academic studies have focused on women. How could you elaborate on this? Why is this so important to you?
I think it's important to me partly from my personal life, where if I look at all the role models I have, they are strong women. They are women who have maybe not, headed companies, but have been incredibly, had that core of strength and love. And I think the reason why, from a business or an economic standpoint, I think women can change the world is if you look at the world today, and especially in the part of the world that I am in right now, sub-Saharan Africa, or in anywhere in the global south, you can see that women are disproportionately impacted by poverty. Not only by poverty, but by access to health, access to education. They're disproportionately affected by climate change, by natural disasters, by wars. All of these affect women the most, and it's really hard to see and hard to not do something about. The other fact is that if you actually improve the status of a woman, if you give her access to her own source of income, if you give her access to education or resources, she doesn't take just herself out of poverty, she takes her whole family out of poverty. So what you have is a scenario where women are disproportionately disadvantaged, but if you give them the opportunity, they will disproportionately positively impact their communities. So it would be so obvious to see that the biggest and the most powerful pathway out of generational poverty, out of generational disadvantage, is by targeting women.
Amazing, amazing. I like how you moved it to this appropriate positive impact that women would bring out of the negative and turn it into positive if we can actually empower the woman. I can see why you are passionate about this and the impact that your work can do, actually, and all the work all other organizations are doing to empower women. It's a way in which we can actually bring about the impact beyond ourselves, as you have said, to families and the general community. Now, what inspired you to really take on the CEO role of Street Business School, coming from being the managing director of is it My Agro?
I was the managing director of strategy. So there was a CEO for that organization. There is a CEO for that organization.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
So what really struck me about Street Business School was, for the first time in my 25 years of working, here was an organization that kind of resonated not just with my head, but with my heart as well. So from the head perspective, Street Business School has an amazing curriculum. It's super powerful, and we have an independent evaluation that proves it. And that's the gold standard in the development sector. Having a randomized control trial is the gold standard of impact assessment. And Street Business School, despite being such a young organization, had already done that. None of the organizations I've worked for before had it's called an RCT, had an RCT. And this RCT clearly evidenced impact. It showed that we double incomes in a year, even after a year. So not just when they start the business or not just immediately after the course is done, but even after a year, women have more than doubled their income. And more than 80% of them have at least one business. And even this is after a year. So you're saying that not only does it create change, it creates sticky change. The change lasts. And then the other thing was that Street Business School has this model, which is we don't have to be in every single country in the planet in order to, provide women with access to this amazing curriculum. We will give it to other organizations. And there are amazing small local NGOs. Often the founder is from the community and knows the specific needs of those communities much better than a big global NGO knows. So we know how to transfer this curriculum to these NGOs. So amazing. Here's a business model that makes so much sense. It's scalable, it's smart, it's effective. So my head said yes immediately to the job. Then when I talked to the people through the recruitment process and I talked to the founder, I realized that this organization has values like leading with love, celebrating success, celebrating moments of success and happiness together as a group, collaboration. And this, coming from the hard-nosed private sector, this was something that was really unique to me and it was really powerful. And it's not just words on a piece of paper, they actually live and breathe this. And it's an amazingly joyous place to work, which was something I found out after I joined. So both my heart and my head said yes to the role. And I felt so incredibly blessed, so incredibly lucky to be selected to be the CEO of this amazing organization.
I get you. Indeed, indeed. Thank you so much. I find that the work that you do, what Street Business School does is amazing. And definitely I tapped into those values as well. And meeting when I went to Uganda and meeting the coaches really touched me. The welcome that they gave is just like, wow, this is your own DNA. You can't find this type of welcome anywhere else. So I can see why anyone would be pulled to it. It's amazing. And thank you for elaborating on what Street Business School does and the model, the curriculum, and all of those things that have impact on a woman and doubling the income and sticking. I like you talked about sticky impact, making that, because we can improve, grow the business or scale or do anything, but actually making it consistent to last beyond a year, beyond a certain time, that is different. So the curriculum must be very good. And as you have said, it's a gold standard one, really amazing. Thank you. So we want to know, as a woman working at the top, we always want to tap into this. What, in your view, stops women from rising up to the role of leadership? And what can they do to be able to take up such roles?
I think there's some part of it which is external, and then there's some part of it which is internal, and that's true of any barriers. I think if you look at the external barriers, the fact is that women work, 60% more than men. So they have work at home, they have different life stages, they have to have children, they have to bring those children up, and they do most of the childcare and housework. So there's a lot of pressure on women already. And the second thing is that the strengths of a woman in many cases are not as valued as the strengths of a man. So a woman is resilient, a woman has courage, a woman has grit, a woman has the ability to create community and foster and support. And I'm generalizing wildly here based on gender. But if you look at the private sector, what they really value is assertiveness, aggression, push, and that's not innately, in many cases, how women like to lead. So then we get assessed on how well we can fake being a man without the opportunity to be authentically a strong woman. And unfortunately, not all of us want to fake being a man. And therefore, it's harder and harder to succeed in those environments. And I'm so glad that that's slowly changing. And I see much more recognition for what women bring to the table across the board. And then there's the internal barrier. There's that internal lack. We undersell ourselves. We doubt ourselves. We keep our voices small. We tend to support rather than to lead. And I think that in many cases is our lack of self-belief, because society, because our families, because life till now has often told us that we're not good enough. So that's why I think sisterhood is so important. That's why I think women supporting women at any stage, whether they're just starting their careers or whether they are retiring, it's so important that women support women to help them become better, authentic women leaders.
Amazing. Thank you. I think that's something for us to pinpoint here. Authentic leaders, just aligning ourselves, our trueness, our true values to everything else, and not become what an organization is demanding, but just bring that to selves. Thank you very much. I think you've cleared that very, very well in terms of what stops us. So most of the time it's what we think others want us to be like, not exactly what we know we can actually bring, that we put at the table, and it stops us. Thank you very much. So this issue is our 10th issue, and the theme is wealth building. Could you tell us, what does wealth building mean to you?
That's a great question. For me, wealth is not necessarily just the money sitting in a bank. In fact, it's often the last thing is the money sitting in the bank. Wealth is the value that you bring that you have created through your life in this world. And that could be wealth of experiences, that could be wealth of relationships, and that could be the wealth of support that you've given other people. And in fact, that's what keeps you mentally strong. That's what keeps you healthy. That's what keeps you happy and connected with this planet, much more than dollar bills sitting cold in a bank safe somewhere. But that, at the same time, that's easy for me in the comfort of my air-conditioned room to say. The work that we do is actually about supporting women to create wealth, and the wealth that they see, they don't talk about it in terms of money. They talk about it in terms of, I want to send my girls to school. I want to build a brick house for my children. They're sleeping outside. I want to be able to feed them 2 meals a day instead of just one. That's how they articulate wealth. And I want my husband to see me as valuable. I want my father to see me as valuable. And that's what they articulate as wealth. And I think it's really important. It's not the actual money, it's what that money can bring you. And it's how you brought that money into being that's really important.
Okay, I get you. Thank you very much on clarifying that in terms of what wealth is. And if you look at it, we know that you empower women to to achieve financial growth and to build their wealth. We want to know, how specifically do you go through this process? Are there any key key factors that you have to touch on to make sure that the woman grows to be towards financial wealth, if we are talking about finances, money in particular here? Yeah.
Stella, I completely agree with you. It's important that we create the money. In fact, that's how we measure success. Were we able to double her income or more than double her income? Because that's how she can move out of poverty. Street Business School's approach is pretty specific, and it's based on years of trial and changing and learning and changing. So what we have is truly well designed and well tested. Our curriculum teaches women, whether they are illiterate, semi-literate, or literate, about how to identify and run a small business. Now, you're talking to women who've been in poverty for generations. And we're trying to convince her that even though she's illiterate, she's never spent a day in school, she can be the person who moves her entire family out of poverty. So our curriculum cannot just be about bookkeeping, about business planning or market research. It has to be about self-confidence. It has to be about how that woman recognizes that she has agency and she can be the change that solves generational poverty. So there is this amazing way that we blend this through this hard curriculum about business management skills. And it's 8 modules that's targeted, like I said, at the women, at this often neglected group of women who are not tech savvy, who don't have savings in the bank or access to loans, and who might be grandmothers or young girls finishing school. So it's a 6-month curriculum that we train other NGOs to deliver on the ground. And they can weave it into whether that NGO is working on HIV/AIDS or whether that NGO is working on anti-human trafficking. They can meld our curriculum with their existing programming to double incomes, because they know if they can double a woman's income or more than double a woman's income, then they are able to meet their objectives on reducing human trafficking, on improving nutrition, on increasing children's in school. All of those outcomes improve if you can increase the income of a woman.
Oh, that's amazing. That's how it's integrated. So you brought it out. I was wondering how that works, but wow. So that is at the core of whatever organization is working or aiming for. So that's very good. Okay, so we wanted to know as well, specifically, are you able to share how you measure the impact of these programs?
Yes, great question. The way that we measure the impact is we collect information from our NGO partners. We provide them with the monitoring and evaluation tools to collect the information, and they provide us information which we analyze and give back to them so that they can assess their success. But that includes increase in income, so not just revenue, but actually how much money she can take home. So net of costs, net of expenses. And that's what we show. We see doubles, more than doubles over the course of a year and beyond. Then we look at how many women who have attended the training are actually setting up a business, or did they just attend the training and then, tried something and it didn't work out. And we measure that immediately while the course is running, after the course, and then up to a year or 2 years afterwards. And that's where I said the RCT showed that 80% of women have at least one business, and many women have 2 businesses or more. And we have internal data that continues over time as well.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. Yes, I have actually 1 or 2 women that I intend to interview for this issue that have multiple businesses. I look at it and think, wow. This is amazing. I'm just so excited to interview them and just tap into that knowledge. How did they do it, and how are they doing it continuously? And that's the stickiness that you talked about. Once I could just relate. Oh, this is something that I'm going to find out more about how it is possible, how you transform the woman to that level, to come from just asking themselves where to start, no income, and become such a great impact in their communities. Thank you very much for that. So we know that in one of your interviews with the Clinton Global Initiatives as part of Climate Commitment Makers, as a managing director then of My Angro, you stressed, I don't know whether it's supposed to be together, you stressed the need to tackle the issue of climate change from the individual's level. And I wonder whether this can also stand and how it would stand for wealth building.
I think that is the nub of what we do. So that's the core of what we address. We believe that entrepreneurial skills, especially entrepreneurial skills, helping people set up their own businesses, is not just about business. It's a life skill because it teaches you to think, about opportunity and pivot and switch and create, and connect your passion to generating revenue. I think it's about creating that kind of skill within the individual so that they can translate that skill into wealth, with very limited opportunities. So we teach them how to do it without a bank loan, without access to credit, starting from where they are, without necessarily having a smartphone. So it's about creating enterprises and businesses from there, starting from there. And then what's amazing to see is how their dreams of wealth, how their dreams of success keep increasing. Things that they would have thought would never be possible in the future, they start believing. One woman wanted to become a wholesaler, and she'd never run a business before in her entire life. And there were no wholesalers in her village. She was a young woman and she wanted to become a wholesaler. And considering where she was, I have no doubt she would reach. I can give you the photograph of that lady and her name from my visit in Uganda. If you just look at her, you know that she is, I don't know, a better business. I have an MBA, but I think she'd make a much better businesswoman than me.
Amazing. That's amazing. And how do you assess these women, if I may ask? How do they qualify? If a woman is listening, they have a cousin or they know someone who would benefit from Street Business Schools initiative, what would make them qualify for the programs? Is it just come in and you're in, or inquire, that's it?
So Uganda is the only place where we train women directly. Our belief is that if we can train another NGO and make them more successful through this program, that's the best pathway to scale. Without us having to expand to every other country in the world, they are already there. Let's make them more successful. Let's make the people they serve more successful. So if you look at some of the NGOs that work, usually they already have a group of people they are serving or a target group that they want to serve. And they add this to their programming. In Uganda, what we often do is we choose geographies for specific reasons, like, oh, this is an agricultural region, or this is somewhere that is, had a lot of climate change impact, etc. And that's where we try to target. And if a woman is there and she wants to join, she is more than welcome to join. In fact, we find word of mouth works really well.
Amazing. Thank you for that. So if it's in Uganda, do they just knock on the door of Street Business School?
No, Street Business School will come and knock on your door. We do mobilization in the villages that we choose, and through the process, we talk to the village chiefs, we talk to the church leaders, to the imams if relevant, and we then run nearly a few weeks of mobilization to get women interested in attending the program.
Amazing. And do they have to pay anything?
They don't pay.
They don't pay, they just come and attend.
They come and attend, and then if they attend consistently, then they get to be part of the most amazing and fun graduation that you can imagine. I'll ask April to share some pictures with you of our graduations. They are so good. And you're talking about women who most probably never got a chance to graduate from school. So it's a parade with a band and with graduation hats and everything.
I've seen the pictures. I've seen the pictures.
Yes.
They're amazing. But how you do it is like magic. What you do is magic. What Street Business School does, it's almost like magic, because if you say someone doesn't have education, there are lots of people seated in a corner saying, I can't do anything because I don't have an education. I can't do anything because I don't have an income. And you're demystifying all of these that we talk about are key, but you're making a change. And
Yes.
a whole generation, changing a DNA for a generation. That is great work there. Thank you very much for having been raised and grown in Africa, living in poverty. I just think it's magic. I'm just fascinated with the work, and I praise the work that Street Business School does. So thank you for that. Thank you. So we have a few more questions here for you. I know we are running out of time, but we want to also, so some of these organizations, are you able to talk about those partnerships and collaborations that are instrumental in furthering this mission to empower local women?
Yeah, I think our success is really just a reflection of our partners' success, because they're the ones doing the amazing implementation of this curriculum that translates into the doubling of incomes for women. That translates into more than 80% owning businesses. If you look at our website, you can see we have over 250 partners across 34 countries in the world. And this for an organization that's only been around since 2018. So I think that's a phenomenal achievement. I think what's common between all these NGOs is the fact that they know that if they can increase the income of a woman, they can achieve whatever their goals are, whether they're working on climate change resilience, whether they're working on sexual rights and reproductive health, whether they're working on preventing early marriage, preventing genital mutilation, whether they're working on any of these different sustainable development goals, they know that increasing a woman's income will transform, it will accelerate how they achieve their outcomes. So today, our 250 partners, they address 16 of the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. The only UN Sustainable Development Goal that we're not addressing, that our partners are not addressing, is life underwater. So that connection was a little bit hard for us to build. So we don't yet have a partner working on life underwater.
I wouldn't know how to go about with that. That's unique. Thank you very much. Thank you. And okay, so now we know that you talk about this thickness, and maybe that's what I'm going to refer to as sustainable wealth building. So someone will say, can you tell us some of the key factors that can contribute to sustainable wealth building or financial growth for women? How Street Business School supports this factor?
I think the most powerful way that we support it is really by telling women they can start from where they are. It isn't something that you need to, most of the women start a business while they're still going through the course. They don't even wait. Midway through the course, They've already started businesses, the vast majority of them. So it's not that you need to wait till you attend the last module. You need to wait till you've saved up $100. None of that. We say just look around you. And is there a space you're not using in your compound? Are there some clothes or pots and pans that you don't need anymore and you can sell? Do you have $5 you can borrow from your neighbor? Any of these things. The first module is really starting from where you are. So I think that's one really important part, because the bigger you make it or the further you push it away and delay it, the more intimidating it looks. And what women do is that they say, okay, I have extra flour. I'm going to make pancakes and I will sell it. She saves $1 from doing that. She uses that $1 to go to the market to buy vegetables, to the big market to buy vegetables. And then she sells it outside her house. She saves $2 from doing that. With the $2, she buys chickens that make eggs every day. And then she sells the eggs. And then she sells the chicken and she gets $10. And like that, she's able to kind of grow her business. And with each thing that she does, her dream gets bigger and bigger. And then she's able to sit for the first time and then say, my dream is to send my girls to college in Kampala, or to be able to build a brick house, or to buy a tuk-tuk to transport goods. And these are things, and then she thinks about creating assets for her family and owning assets for the first time in her life. And these are all the things that create, it's from generational poverty. When you create an asset, you're going to generational wealth. And that's truly breaking the cycle.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for elaborating on that. We want to know now, if a woman says, oh, hold on a minute, I feel like, although they're aiming for a woman without a dollar, but I just like that curriculum. I'm attracted to it. How can I get hold of it? Because if it has worked for that woman, it will work for me. How can they do that?
Well, she needs to attend the training, because the training isn't the words on the paper. The training is that sense of a cohort when you're in the room with other women. The training is how we deliver it. And not all of it is classroom. So in many cases, when we're talking about market research, it's not, saying X% market share is given to something else. It's really women going into the market and saying, okay, on this street, how many hair salons are there? There are already 2 hair salons. So while I'm really passionate about it, what are the prices they're offering? I'm not going to be able to make a margin. I'm not going to be able to make money. So instead of a hair salon, what else can I do? So that is real life market research. So they need to be there in person.
They need to be there in person. That's good. Thank you very much. So how can individuals or organizations get involved in your mission, support what Street Business School is doing? Is there any way, if someone's listening, they might feel like, wow, I want to get involved in what they do? How can they get involved?
That would be more than welcome. All of us know of an NGO that's doing some really interesting work and some really good work. Might be an NGO that you're already supporting. We know they would benefit from adding Street Business School to their programming. So ask them to get in touch. If they're really interested in the Street Business School work, individual donations are a big chunk of how we succeed as an organization and reach more women. If they know women in Kampala, or they know a village in Kampala, then please do reach out to our Uganda office. Not Kampala, and the whole of Uganda we work in. So they might be a village that they think they want to sponsor. And we can reach out and look at training in that village as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for giving us that light to direction. So we know that when women hear about success stories, stellar women, they always think that you are made like that. You're just unique, Deepti is just unique. She has this, and I don't have that. Tell us within your own story, because people have a lot of fear, and especially fear of failure. Um, in your own view, what is your perspective of fear of failure, and have you failed at anything before?
Oh my
Because when they
goodness.
hear you have an MBA and all of that, you're just a success story. You're just in another position. Yeah.
No, I think I have failed far more than I have succeeded. And that is the true story of anybody who has reached anywhere. There is an amazing quote by Theodore Roosevelt. Um, and I usually don't quote American presidents, but it says it's about daring greatly. And I'm gonna, I don't remember the quote word for word, but if you ever find it, it would be amazing. And it says that it's not the critic who counts. It's not the
Yes.
person sitting on the stand and pointing out the flaws of the people who are in the arena.
Yes.
The person who is in the arena with dirt on their face, with sweat pouring down their head, who has failed and failed and failed again, but at least each time they failed, they did it by daring greatly. And I think that quote is so powerful. In the end, you're not going to take your MBA or your job title with you. What you're going to remember, what you're going to have when you're older, is really that legacy of how you created value in the world. Not what you took from it, but what you actually created and gave back to the world. And I tried all the, MBA stuff. I tried being the hard-nosed professional, big private sector success story, and it just didn't fit. I couldn't do it. I didn't like it. I was successful, but I hated it. I used to cry pretty much, constantly when I came back home from work. And the only thing you need is a little bit of courage to say, that works for other people, but my heart is crying out for something else, and you have to follow your heart. And that's the only thing I think. You don't need a degree, you just need a little bit of courage. And if you don't have it, then your sisters can give it to you.
So beautiful. Dipsy, thank you so much. That was so beautiful. You need to give value, not to take away from the world, but to give. I love that. And if you don't have courage, tap from your sister. That is amazing. Tap from sisterhood should give it to you. Tap from someone else and get that courage to move away from what doesn't serve you and take a leap of faith and believe in yourself and do that is within you. That's the authenticity that you are talking about and that you bring and share with us. Thank you very much for sharing that. And I think it will encourage many women to think about going out of their way to dare themselves and do something that serves them. Thank you. Now, what future do you envision for women?
Oh, I think the future is female, or non-binary at least. I think the future is finally a balance between the male, the authentic male, so not false masculinity, but the authentic male and the authentic female and everything in between voices. I think it's about fluidity. I think it's about us not being pigeonholed to be the best mothers and the best cooks and the best homekeepers and the best CEOs. I think it's about feeling finally comfortable in our own skin. And I think it's much more connected than it is right now. And and I think Generation X will definitely get us there. Generation Z rather will definitely get us there. They're an amazing generation, and they have, very strong sense of self, and they'll be quite powerful in getting us to the future.
Definitely, I agree with you. I agree with you. That's so beautiful. Generation Z, yes, yes, yes to them. And if you had to go back in time and meet your 15-year-old self, what key message would you share with her?
That's a fabulous question because my 15-year-old self had no confidence. My 15-year-old self was lost and confused and was trying to be the best daughter, sister, whatever role society had put in place for me. Um, I would tell her it's okay. You don't have to be what other people want you to be. There is no joy, there is no happiness in there. There is, anxiety, stress, misery, and a deep sense of failure if that's how you design your life. It's going to be hard and it's going to be lonely because being your true self is not what society wants you to do.
Yeah, oh my goodness, yeah.
But it'll be worth it in the end. You get to sail around the world, so don't worry, it'll be fun as well.
Yeah, it would be fun as well. Amazing. I think she would love that and she would do well with that. Of course, you have done well. Definitely, you've done well. So thank you for that. Where do we see Dipti in the next 5 to 10 years?
Ooh. Well, Deepti loves adventure. So now that she's done halfway around the world and she's climbed a lot of mountains, she has to find some new adventures. Um,
Uh,
I I think I'd love to go to Antarctica if it won't destroy the environment there. Um, and she'll be always learning, and she'll be always trying to find a way to add value to other people, to and to give back for the space that she takes on the planet, to give back much more than the space she takes on the planet.
that's amazing. What a great way. You look forward to that. And good luck with sailing all the way to Antarctica. So, and do you have a life mantra?
Um, my only life mantra is that if you have a value, if you hold a value dear, the you need to stand up visibly and publicly for it. So if you believe in transparency, it's easy to be transparent when the times are good. When everything is shiny and happy, then it's fine. But you need to be able to stand up when you see somewhere else transparency is not happening. And especially when things are not going well, when it will cost you a lot to be transparent, that's when you have a value. That's when you have to hold on to it and stand for it. So it's easy to have values in the good times, but it really, really only counts when things are not going as well.
Yes, to bring it out. Oh my goodness, that's so powerful. It's one of it's a big one. It's a big one to cultivate. And it has made me think about my own values and how when I'm challenged, do I actually show up for them? As you said, in any situation. That's very good. Thank you. Now, before you leave, I know we're about to leave. We want you to leave a challenge for women who are going to read this story, listen to it, and how to develop the courage towards building wealth, because this issue is about wealth building and whatever connotation or meaning that you bring to wealth. What challenge do you want to leave for women listening, viewing, or reading your interview?
I think it's two things. One is about starting from where you are. I think that's one of the core parts of creating wealth. It's not about it's not just about this big future state. It's about the small thing that you can do today to start creating that wealth. Today, what can you stop doing or what can you start doing more of? And even if it's just a really, really small thing, start from where you are. Then at the same time, create a dream. And that dream will make the small step that you make today more tangible and meaningful. So start from where you are, but also create a vision or a plan for the future. and paint a rich picture of that dream.
Into a rich picture of that dream. Thank you very much. Thank you for that challenge. Start from where you are, start small, take that step today, whether you're starting or stopping. And I think I have learned a lot. And then also create that dream, paint that picture as well. So there we are. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, it has been amazing having Deepti here and to share with us her deep knowledge and her experience. I have learned a lot, and I need time now to meditate and really absorb and ensure that I utilize the knowledge that you have shared with us. And I hope you two who listen, read this interview are going to be able to take one thing or two or more and be able to utilize them to make a change in your life. It has been lovely and really an honor to host you here, Deepti. Thank you so much. It's Deepti Mathew, the CEO of Street Business School, and it's me, Stella Olivia Kikoyo, the editor-in-chief and the host of the Stellar Woman Show. Thank you very much. Until next time, goodbye.